podcast, so.
Hello and welcome to the Animation Fixation podcast, where we talk everything animation. Today, Tim and I will be continuing our deep dive into Netflix's animated series Season 1 of Love, Death and Robots, and we'll be looking at three very interesting and very different short films: Suits, Sucker of Souls, and When the Yogurt Took Over.
That's right, and the first one we will be looking at is...
Suits, which is about a community of farmers that fight off alien bugs in giant mech suits.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Who couldn't love this one?
It just so completely fits this sci-fi brief that I can't even. It's got that real Firefly feel, very much living on the frontier, living on the edge of the known and the unknown.
Yep.
The way the community all bands together, even though you have this very alien setting and this very strange and intense setting that we're not used to seeing, the way this community bands together and the way that they fight these alien bugs off just feels so familiar and very wholesome. And I really like it.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's got a different feel to the previous episodes. Stylistically as well, it's very different.
It's very painterly.
It's very painterly. It suits the story as well. It's quite graphic. There's really nice contrast between the colors. The action is fantastic. The characters are really interesting. You feel for all of them. You want them to succeed, and you're on the edge of your seat the whole time. This was just fantastic. Really, really well done.
I did really like at the beginning when Henry's getting into the mech suit and he's got his cup of tea. Firstly, that man can climb a ladder and not spill a drop of tea. That is a skill. That is a skill I wish I possessed. But having him like sitting in this mech suit fighting these aliens drinking tea was just the most beautiful image, because it does it cuts that tension just a little bit, but it also gives you the impression that this is something that happens quite frequently. They are very good at what they do. They are very good at fighting off these alien bugs. They have these mech suits designed specifically for this. So you do get the feeling that this is a very common occurrence, and this is just another part of working on a farm. And just having him just sitting there drinking his tea while the mech suit's like chopping aliens in half. Beautiful.
Especially when the audience was seeing this for the first time.
It's so
and
intense.
like, this is crazy.
Watching cows be ripped apart.
Cows being ripped apart, and then the mechs are coming in and ripping the aliens apart using their machine guns and everything like that. And as you said, the guy's drinking tea as casually as can be, and where they're going, what is going on here? These alien things are terrifying. And he's like, oh yeah,
I do like that joke immediately after that scene where, you know, as he's coming up to the cows and his wife's on the line with him. Keep telling you should move those cows closer to the house. At the end, there's one cow left. Good news, honey, I'm moving the whole herd. Like, I feel like that is just such realistic dialogue.
Yes. The dialogue in this was
stunning.
Was
it was
great. And the humor as well. Nothing actually felt overdone. Nothing felt unnecessary.
No. Yes, I agree with you. I think it was very, very well done. Coming back to the coffee cup, having like during the explosion and when like there's the fighting of the big bug, and just having that coffee cup roll. It's just one of those beautiful visual cues where you're like, oh no. But to subvert that and kind of have that little bit more wholesome ending, I really enjoyed the whole dynamic of this film. I loved that there was a really great balance between Beth and Henry, that they work very, very well as a team, because you'd have to. You get by in this scenario where these things are happening all the time. You don't get to have one person that is dead weight, that is useless, because everyone has to fulfill a function.
That's right.
And the fact that she is so competent and supportive and is, you know, not only supplying extra ammunition to the guys on the front line and helping to manage where these breaches are occurring and how to fight back against them. She's also managing the families that are coming in to take shelter. Like, they are managing the shelter.
Right, yes.
She's making sure everyone's there. She's giving them timelines of this is how long you need to hold them back. How are we looking? it's just, I think it's a very good dynamic, because I think it would be very easy to just have the big macho men going off to fight the bugs, but being able to actually go, no, this is a functioning community, and here is actually how people
And
support
everyone
each other.
needs to work together, otherwise
Exactly.
they're going to die.
Exactly.
And everyone knows what they have to do, and even when tragedy does strike, they're still there to help each other and pull each other through. And nothing in this ever felt unbelievable.
No.
Like when one character does die, the partner of that character isn't like, it's okay, I've got this. You can actually see that she's still in pain, but she knows that she still needs to step up regardless of how much pain she's currently feeling.
Yeah.
And that comes across really well.
What did you think of the final shot of this short, Tim, where we pull back to the planet and we reveal these little domes and they're all swarming with the DVs?
I thought it was perfect. I was not expecting it at all. I thought if they were on a planet, it was really just them. But when the camera zooms out and you see all these bugs over the entire planet and multiple domes where these other communities live, it's like, whoa, hang on, this is a much bigger thing than what we were realizing.
It makes me want more.
Yes, and yet it didn't feel incomplete. I've been finding that some of the shorts for Love, Death and Robots, they feel incomplete. And some short films do leave you with that feeling, but this episode, it does something special where it feels like a complete story, and yet you're left still wanting more. And that's when you know that you've done it just right.
So apparently this one is actually based off of a short story by a man named Stephen Lewis. So I'd be very interested to find that short story and read it, because like I said, I want more. But I feel like a lot of the times when we do have things that are adaptations of other stories, there seems to be a lot of shoehorning of things in to try and make it work on screen, because people are so worried about offending fans of the original material, or they feel like they need to have this plot point in, even though it's not something that necessarily matters for the story that they're telling, because it's in the books. And I never felt like that with this at all. I feel like this struck a really, really good balance. Like the fact that they just will refer to these bugs as DBs. So it actually comes from that story, because they are dimensional beasts and they're coming through dimensional portals. The short goes, that's not important. That's not the story we're telling. We're just going to move on. And I think that was absolutely the correct decision. My hat is off to the filmmakers in this one, because I think they've done a really, really good job of adapting an existing work without making it feel forced.
Absolutely.
Which is a skill. It's absolutely a skill.
Yes, absolutely. Was there anything about the short that you didn't like?
I don't think so. I think all of it was really, really well done. Like, it was beautiful to watch. Even the gory stuff with the cows, like, it was still so painterly that kind of you feel a little bit disconnected from the blood of it.
Yeah.
But it's just so beautifully presented, and it has such this wholesome storyline and this wholesome community at the center of it that you kind of buy into it wholesale and you just go along for the ride. And I really, really, really liked it.
Yes, I loved pretty much everything about it. I love the art style. I love the designs of the human characters, the aliens, the mechs. I love the action. Even the music was well done. The only thing that irked me, but it wasn't enough for me to be pulled out entirely, it did feel like they were animating on 2s and 3s, which got a little jarring at some points. Like, it got a little bit uncomfortable watching. So what it means to animate on 2s and 3s, it means that the animation isn't going to be very as smooth as if they were animating on 1s and 2s. So it gives it a very subtle stop motion effect. Now, I'm not saying that it felt stop motion for this, but at times, especially with a lot of the dynamic movement, it was taking me out of it a little bit, and I found it a little bit distracting. It definitely wasn't enough for me to not want to watch this film over and over and over again, but it was something that I did find a little bit distracting.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I did kind of notice that up front, but yeah, it did. I don't think it bothered me at all, really, because I think as well with that painterly style, I kind of went, it feels like I'm reading some really great graphic novel. Like it gave it a little bit more of that page turning, but gave it a bit more of that gritty frontier effect in my brain.
Yes,
So my brain just went.
And I think that's why they chose to do that.
Yeah.
I just found it a little bit too distracting, but they did everything else so well that I completely forgave that.
Then,
Well,
Tim.
obviously we both really love this one. Another fantastic film done by Blur Studios. We have to rate it. What would you rate it as, Caitlin?
I'm gonna say 4.5 out of 5. Very few things in life are perfect. This comes pretty close. I'm gonna deduct half a mark because I want more. Give me more.
Yes. I'd definitely go 4.5. 4.9 if I could. It was literally just the issue with the frame counts. That's it. Everything else was so well done.
It was very good. Yeah, all right. It's not often we agree on the scores. There you go.
That is true. Well, we'll see with the next one, which is Sucker of Souls.
Yes. Now this is a very interesting one. This is an archaeological group digging in an old castle and uncover Dracula, who is now out to kill them. I was really not expecting this, actually. It feels so hand-drawn. It's very it's more like reading like the old like 80s Deadpool comics. It's got both that look and that vibe in terms of the story. It was really shocking, actually. I wasn't expecting that at all. It wasn't a bad shock. It was just very much not what the rest of Love, Death and Robots has been so far. Even the painterliness of suits wasn't like this. That still was kind of a more modern animation style. This looked old-fashioned, and I liked it.
Yeah, it was definitely refreshing because with all the previous shorts that we've seen so far, I think all of them so far have been 3D.
I think so.
CGI.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know how Studio La Cachette did this, if they actually did it traditionally in hand-drawn or if they did it on computers, but it was refreshing to actually see a proper traditional 2D animated short out of these.
Yeah, and I think like they really threw the hat in on that whole like graphic novel feel as well, because it does feel that really gritty, like when you're watching I can't remember his name because he dies immediately, the grad student that's doing the translation get like cut in half by Dracula, and you just watch him peel away in layers, like the skin and the muscle and the bone and the brain, and it all just like kind of falls apart. It feels very graphic novel, but also very anime. Like it was very over the top.
Yes.
And I swear I've seen someone do exactly that in an anime somewhere.
Oh, okay.
But like, it was very, and then like that whole, just like that big like curtain of blood spatter. I'm like, okay, like that's very graphic novel. That's also very anime. It's very cool.
Especially the contrast, like the blood just sticks out so much against the darker, grittier colors that are used.
Yeah, it's a very restrained color palette in this one.
Yeah, it is.
It's not very bright except for that blood, really, and the fire and the flare. Like that's you get these big bright pops of red, which makes sense for a Dracula story.
It does.
That the main drawing color is going to be red. But yeah, it's a very restrained color palette. I love the cats. I love all of the cats. It's weird when the cats are in the rafters. You know, okay, sure. I just need to say my favorite character in this whole film was Gary. She's a delight. I think because watching this did feel very much like, you know, an 80s 90s sort of Deadpool storyline, and she very much fits the bill for that. The very over the top sarcasm, you know, leaving the bomb with F you, love Gary. Mwah. Just her excitement over C4. Like, I
Yes.
swear I've seen this character, and this is always my favorite character,
Mhm.
is just the tiny little chaos gremlin. And that is what she is. When they're running away, like, from the explosion, like, ha, that worked really well, and you just see Gary sprint past, sorry,
Sorry.
and then you see the explosion catching them. It's just the comedy. She is the comedic relief, and she does her job so well. So well. Just like that, why do you have C4? The absolute, like, that man, that is a man that is done. That man
Yeah.
is done with Gary. And then, like, when she blows everything up, every time Gary, how many times does this happen? I now want a story of Gary and C4. I just want to know. I want to know the backstory of what has happened previously.
Oh, look, the comedy in this works so well, and it's needed.
It is.
Because the violence is so to the point of just being over the top, and you're on the edge of your seat the whole time, and you're just thinking, how are these people going to survive this?
Yeah.
And then you have Gary, the little pyro of the team.
I love the little pyro. The little pyros are always my favorite.
Yeah, they really are, and it's interesting how often you actually see them in films like this.
Yeah. I think if I have to pick out things that I'm not a fan of in this film, for starters, it's a weird choice for Dracula to be naked. Personally, I felt like that was a bit unnecessary, and the framing of it as well. Feel like we didn't need that.
Yeah. I mean, there was even that shot where Dracula got shot between the legs, and how graphic they made that. I'm pretty sure every guy watching this just suddenly crossed their legs.
I don't have the equipment, and I felt it, so I'm like...
It was a bit reminiscent of Sin City for anyone that's seen that film. They understand exactly what I'm referring to. But yeah, it definitely did come off as unnecessary.
Yeah.
But you very soon forget about it.
Yeah.
Because there's just so much going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know what? The creepiness of this film was actually really, really well done.
Yes.
This was a creepy film, and how they framed and lit and even designed Dracula. They made him really creepy. Normally, when we see Dracula in Dracula films, he's not creepy at all, but this one made him creepy. Yeah.
I think there was a really great lesson learnt from horror movies as well for this one, which is you never want to reveal your big bad too early. You always want to build up that suspense, and the fact that we have this whole sequence right at the start where the professor and, I forgot his name, but the bodyguard are running away from Dracula covered in blood. We don't even know what they're running from at this point. They are just running, and they are terrified. And then we flash back to the beginning of the film where they uncover this grave. But the fact that they are running and we just see lights going off behind them, we never see what they're afraid of. All we get is to sit with this fear of two characters. We get to know these characters, and we get to know that they are terrified. And then it builds up this suspense for seeing the monster so well, so perfectly. And then one thing that I think this film actually delivers on, like you said, Dracula is creepy. Like, he actually looks terrifying. So many times in a horror film, they will build up this big bad guy, and they will try to do we will hold off on revealing. And when they do reveal, after they've built up so much suspense, it falls flat because it's not terrifying enough.
Yeah.
They hit the nail on the head with this one. It was the perfect balance of holding back. They showed him at exactly the right moment, and then the design absolutely nailed it. I have absolutely no notes on how well they executed that. That was perfection.
Yes. That's how you do a monster movie. Was there anything that you didn't like?
No, like I said, I sound like a prude, but yeah, like he just didn't need to be naked. I don't think we needed to kind of have that extra element of, like, firstly the gore of him being shot there, and like the kind of nudity itself. It's just not needed. It kind of felt like it was ticking a box a little bit.
It did, yes.
Yeah.
And I think with this being a adult animated series, I feel that a number of these shows, these episodes will have that feeling of ticking a box to make it adult.
But like you've done that with the violence, you've done that with the swearing.
Exactly.
Like, you don't need to.
Exactly. The real trick is doing it in a way where it doesn't feel like you're ticking a box, that it actually aids in and benefits the story. So the nudity in this one, it wasn't necessary. No. Like you said, it did feel like it was ticking a box, and I do agree with that. Another thing that I wasn't a huge fan of, it did feel incomplete. So we spoke about the previous one, Suits, feeling like a complete story and you're left wanting more. This one, it just felt incomplete.
Yeah, it does a little bit. It does cut off very abruptly at the end. I think actually, if we want to do kind of a comparison for the ending, it's kind of similar to the way that the three robots kind of cuts off as they're being surrounded by the cats. But Three Robots, I think, just does it that little bit better, where... It does. You know, I think firstly because it is a comedy, and they're being surrounded by cats, like they're not in mortal peril. They might not know that in Three Robots, but they're not actually in mortal peril. It's ending on a funny tableau, whereas this is, okay, bye now, you did. Bye-bye.
Exactly, yeah. Maybe for me it was more so the beginning.
Yeah. I mean, they didn't have to end on the 50 Draculas in a cave. Like they could have continued down the kind of more traditional horror movie plot line of, you know, they escape and they think that Dracula's dead, and then you just see his eye poke out from the rubble or something, like he's gonna come after them, and that maybe would have had a little bit more of that. You know, it still gives you the something more is coming. You want that. You want more
to be continued.
It's also a good ending point. So they did, I think they wrote themselves into a corner with the ending on this one. And I'm like, you know what? That's the choice that was made. I will respect it. But there were other options. So as much as I'm defending, they kind of had to end it there. For the choice they made, they had other choices available.
Yeah, they did. Yeah. And you know what? I guess it wasn't a terrible way to end it. But
it's not terrible.
Yeah.
I think just when everything else is like such a, I don't know, for me, like we said, the humor really hits in this, and then kind of it just kind of ends quite abruptly after you've gotten into all this violence and humor, and you're like, okay, it just doesn't feel quite right. So
yeah. Okay, well, how would you rate this one then?
I'm probably gonna give it a 4 out of 5 for this one. I liked it a little bit less than Suits. Again, I think just for all the stuff we mentioned, like it does feel a little incomplete, and I think that's gonna take it down a notch for me. But yes, I still really enjoyed it.
Yes, and you know what? I am also giving it a 4.
What is going on? We're in sync today.
Yeah, we are in sync. Well, let's just see how in sync we are with the next one. When the yogurt took over.
Oh my god! This how do I even start with this? Scientists create sentient yogurt, which is hyper intelligent and takes over the world, and then goes into space.
But doesn't take over the world in a negative way.
It's entirely positive, and it's all mockumentary style. I was half expecting Morgan Freeman to be the narrator. Like, it was just...
That would be fantastic if he was.
That would have been incredible. If anyone has a funny mockumentary to do and you can get Morgan Freeman to be your narrator, do it, because just it will immediately raise it 10 levels. But as it was, this I thought was a very funny little film. There's I think a bit of quite a logical leap in a lot of things that you just have to go with. I really enjoyed it. I don't think it's very bubblegummy. It's not changing radically your views on anything. It's not telling some deep and gritty story. It is a little bit of fun for a couple of minutes, and I think it fulfills that quota very, very well. The fact that it is kind of unresolved, and I think by nature it has to be, because it is this mockumentary style and it's talking about what has happened and what is happening, and they don't know where it's going to go. It ends on the fear of humanity that yogurt is going to leave them to fend for themselves. Yeah, look, Yogurt actually seems to be the most competent leader Earth has ever had. So you know what? I'm kind of on board. Like, yeah, we should be afraid of that.
Yeah, it almost doesn't seem unrealistic that Yogurt could be more competent than our actual leaders.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, this was a very quirky film, and I can see why some people would like it. I can see why some people wouldn't like it. It is a competently made film.
Yes.
The CGI is good. Personally, I wasn't really a fan of the design of the humans.
Yeah, they're a bit weird. They're very, very non-human humans.
Yeah, like, look, I appreciate that they were trying to do something different. In this case, I don't feel that it worked, but kudos to them for actually trying to do something different. But the CGI was good. The textures were good. The lighting was good. Even how they animated the Yogurt talking.
That was great.
That was good. Yeah, look, it's just a really quirky film, which, to be honest, it is a little refreshing seeing something like this. It's just like Three Robots.
It's actually made by Blow Studio as well, the same studio.
Again, yeah. And you know what? I really have to give Blow Studio credit for doing something that's stylistically different to another film that they've done. It's so easy for studios to get caught up in a single style. They get comfortable. They know how to do that one style very well.
Yeah.
But you never see them doing anything else.
Yeah.
And I mean, we spoke about that before in a previous episode, about studios not experimenting enough with the looks and just producing the same thing over and over again. So I do definitely have to give Blow Studio credit for doing something that's stylistically different to a previous project that they've done.
Absolutely.
But to be honest, I wasn't the biggest fan of this one, just because it was so quirky to the point where I think it was just the concept of it. It just came off as stupid.
It is stupid, but I feel like it's this very, I don't know, it feels a bit palate cleanser like in the series.
Yes.
Because there isn't death. There's, kind of technically, it's like this artificial intelligence / sentient yogurt, which I think is fulfilling the robot quota here, but like, it's literally just that. It is a bit of sci-fi bubblegum, and I think when everything around it has quite gritty storylines and, quite gritty styles, I think the fact, like, even the designs feel very bubblegum. Like, they feel very much kiddie. Like, this is the only one so far. I know we're only 6 episodes in, but this is the only episode so far where we have seen female nudity and it hasn't been sexualized. It's been comedic.
Yeah, it was actually very funny saying that.
Yeah.
So we see it from a protester.
Yeah, a shirtless female protester. And it's very funny because you're like, yeah, I've seen this, but it doesn't feel sexualized. It doesn't feel gritty in the same way. Like, there's obviously this underlying very real concern of things, like, but like, you look at it when they're talking about the economic plan of the yogurt, and you don't deviate from the plan. If you do this perfectly, then it'll be, we'll erase national debt, but if you deviate from the plan, it's going to be economic ruin. And the politicians are like, yep, we can do it. And then immediate economic ruin. Like, this feels, firstly, spot on for politicians.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
But watching the match cut that they did between the states in economic ruin and the person, like, boiling a baby in a trash can, and then the match cut to Ohio where the woman's just, like, picking up a baby and, like, going, I'm gonna eat your toes. Like, it was such a beautiful match cut. It was just so well done.
The comedy did work very well in this one.
The comedy was so good. And I really liked the way that they did, you were talking about the way that they'd animated the yogurt talking, which was, yes, fantastic. The voice of the yogurt as well, I think, was really, really well done. It was actually done by layering both male and female voices of text to speech over the top of each other.
Okay.
To give it that kind of much more inhuman but sort of human feel. I really enjoyed the way they did that. I think it's quite interesting. This is now the second film in Love, Death and Robots, and also by Blow Studios, where they have utilized non-human voices to get across this really human personality or this really dynamic character. And I think that's a really, really interesting method. I'm not saying I think we should be replacing more voice actors with computers by any means, but I think for stuff like this, it's a very interesting tool to utilize. If nothing else, Love, Death and Robots is making me really want to see more from Blow Studio.
Absolutely. Well, the fantastic thing about the whole idea of Love, Death and Robots is it's exposing us to the work of multiple animation studios, which they've always produced good work, but it feels like it's bringing them to light. They're getting people to notice them a lot more, and it's fantastic to see the sort of work that's being produced by these studios that people might not have heard of, and kind of showing people that there's more studios out there other than Disney, Pixar, Illumination, DreamWorks, and these other studios are doing fantastic work. There's some amazing artists out there that you need to see their work.
Absolutely.
And I cannot wait to see the next lot of Love, Death and Robots episodes.
I'm very excited.
So what would you rate this one, Caitlin?
Look, I'm gonna give this one probably a 4 out of 5. I thought it was very competently done. I really enjoyed it. As I said, it's a little bit bubblegummy. It's a bit of a palate cleanser, and so I don't think it's gonna be as groundbreaking for me as, Suits or Sucker of Souls. It's a nice little break, but it's not gonna kind of rank it as my favorite, I think.
Yeah.
So 4 out of 5.
So I'm going to give this one a 3.
Okay, all right.
I feel that your description of a palate cleanser is a perfect description for this. It's not a bad film. Not a fan of the design of the humans. The comedy is good. I'm glad there was only 6 minutes. So this is actually the shortest episode in Love, Death and Robots. If it was any longer, I probably would have hit fast forward on it. But yeah, not a bad film. It was okay. Definitely not one of my favorites though.
Fair enough. We nearly had a clean slate. We've agreed for everything but this one.
I know, we were so close.
Damn it, Tim.
Look, maybe for the next lot of Love, Death and Robots episodes.
Yeah, we'll
we just might see eye to eye.
Maybe.
Okay, well, thank you everyone so much for listening to us. Stay tuned for the next 3 episodes where we look at Love, Death and Robots. And we will catch you again next time. See you later.
See ya.